Welcome to the Talking About Life podcast. I am your host, Ian Lepkowski. I am also known as Kowski on Twitter. The handle is at KOWSKY underscore ETH, and that's Kowski.eth for the tag name thing. Now, today we always start the episode when we have a guest by thanking God and the universe and the energy and source and light for bringing these guests to our show, for consistently bringing them here, for bringing us only guests that are positive and passionate about life. And even if there's darkness that we discuss that darkness not to promote more darkness, but to find ways to reach the light. Now, today, we also thank our guest. We're incredibly thankful to our guests for coming on the show. There's no show without you guests, so thank you so much. Today's guest is Chris Donaldson, the maker of good things. On Twitter, he is at Chris underscore Donaldson. That is at CHRIS underscore DONALDSON. And his Twitter bio reads, make films, not war, sharing fresh ideas daily on how to thrive in the creative economy. Make good stuff. Creativestate.substack.com. Got another link down here, moment.film. Advertising and marketing agency coming to us from Bellingham, Washington. Chris, what is going on, man? How are you doing today, and how are you doing in general?
Kowski, what's happening, man? Really appreciate the time here today on the pod. It's awesome. I'm doing well. I think that in Bellingham right now it is 39. It's 29 degrees, so it's a little chilly, but the sun is out. There's lots of promise to be had, and I'm feeling pretty good. I don't know where you want to start, but I think it's interesting that you talk about just being, coming at this experience of the pod, this experience called life, from a place of gratitude, which I think is so important in business and life and relationships, especially right now when all you hear is there's a fair amount of negativity. The economy's suffering. Things are getting a little bit harder. There's layoffs. All the headlines that you read would point to calamity. And I would proffer that, that stuff is partially true, but there's the other side of the story. And the other side of the story are people like yourself who are really engendering positivity and goodwill. People who say yes to the universe, which I think is such a strong place to be. So I appreciate you having me here, man.
Yeah, of course, man. And to your point, like I agree with you. There probably is some economic turmoil on the horizons. I don't think there can like not be with the amount of layoffs that we've been seeing, the number of announced layoffs, 20% of employees here, 10% here, this many hundred, this many thousand there, big names, I don't want to name any names because I don't know the exact stats, but big tech names, in the industry and other big names. So it's like, yeah, like unless everyone gets a job, the day after they fucking lose it, which is I'm hopeful for, man. I put the light out there for that. But just historically, usually there's going to be a period where people are going to be out of work. They're going to be digging into their savings. And if it's a significant enough amount of people pulling back, cutting back, yeah, it's going to affect the economy as a whole. That said, what the fuck does it do being negative about it? Like pulls you down. So, not everyone sees this the same way, but I'm a willful wizard. I'm into some fucking woo woo shit, man. I'm like a spirituality kind of guy.
Law of attraction, man.
Woo woo shit. Oh, well then fuck off, man. It's positive psychology. That's what I ended up learning is like you could be woo woo as you want, but when you get to the fucking skeptics who don't believe in magic, bro, do you believe in psychology? That's a science. All the woo woo shit works on two levels. One, a magical, mystical level that you can't prove. And two, it's fucking positive psychology. So if I sit here every day and focus on like I can't get a job, or I mean I have a job, I'm okay, God, thank God, knock on wood. But whatever, if you're in one of those situations and you focus on I don't have, I can't, the lack, even if you don't believe that that energetically manifests something, bro, your fucking brain hears what you're saying. Like your brain is like a little mini, not mini, your brain is a super fucking computer. And if you keep telling it like things are bad, I'm not fucking, whatever, you put all that negativity, I'm never gonna find a job, bro. It fucking hears that and it reinforces that. So even if things are fucking bad, bro, I'm not into toxic positivity. I'm not into ignorance or fucking like pretending shit's not fucking that it don't stink when it do. But like, even if it do, bro, like fucking like then start thinking of how to clean that stuff up, bro. Get some fucking Febreze, keep it positive. You said you don't know where you want me to start here. I think or where I want to start. Bro, it doesn't fucking matter. Like I said, it's the same rules as life, bro, which means like you don't fucking know what the rules are. You figure them out as you go, and it's kind of just a bunch of mutual agreements between folks. If you want to start, I mean, your first thing that you started with on your bio is make films, not wars. I'm obviously interested, to hear like what your perspective is on that. You're a filmmaker with films. If you want to start somewhere else, lead into that. It's whatever the fuck you want. But if you want to, go with a nudge. I'm definitely into the make films not war thing if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to talk about that. First, just circling back to what you just said, which is so interesting, the toxic positivity, which is real. I think what we suffer from a lot with social media is all we see is the curated life of others. And so everyone's just putting out there how great everything is all the time. And then you start comparing yourself to others. And that's a game of diminishing returns. You can't compare yourself to others, especially when all you're seeing is a false facade of what people are presenting to the world. What I do believe in is something I call radical optimism. And optimism is the belief that change can happen. Radical optimism is the belief that you can be that change. And so that's something I'm really all about. And so when you talk about the layoffs, for example, yes, Microsoft laid off 18,000 or whatever it was. That's a big number. But you also have to remember that in 2021 they hired 35,000, right? And so it's a trend. And so there's still a net positive there. I think that focusing, but all we hear about is the worst case scenario with very few people adding context to what the media pushes out, because the media's goal is to make their problems your problems, and the sooner you can step away from that and own who you are and your outcomes, the better. Um, as it relates
100%.
as it relates to make films not war, I've got a small film company in Bellingham, Washington. We make lots of commercial work for some of these bigger tech companies you just talked about, for the state of Washington, for a number of different nonprofits, some of them quite large, some of them very, very small. And so I have the great fortune of just being able to go and hear a number of different stories from a number of different clients, companies, organizations that are out there trying to make good in the world, trying to affect change, trying to improve people's lives. And so that's really a fortunate place to be. And so I come from Los Angeles, and so I sort of moved up to Bellingham on a whim to make sure my kids had a good lifestyle, and started this thing. But it's worked out, and it's worked out because I think that one of the things we pay attention to as a company is finding that story that can ignite that change, that can be expiring, that can make a difference.
Chris, before like what exactly you're doing, can you also weave into it why you chose filmmaking and like why you got started with that?
Yeah, so it's interesting, why filmmaking? Again, I think it comes back to I really like hearing other people's stories, other people's journeys, other people's challenges, other people's solutions. And filmmaking gave me an avenue to do that. I think the visual medium is extremely powerful. Obviously, I'm a firm believer in the written word. It all starts there for me because when I'm writing scripts, when I'm creating stuff, I really am focusing on the written word, of course. But that visual component, marrying the two, I think is just a very powerful medium. And so my company, Moment Films, does that, and we work with people. I've been working in the business for a fairly long time, and then has gone. I've sort of bounced around in various things. I started off working as a production assistant, which is the lowest. The lowest. I shouldn't say the lowest. It just happens to be the you sort of the entry level position. Then you work your way up. I literally was picking up cigarette butts on sets and staying up late to sweep stages and all that stuff, paying my dues. And then from there, I became a copywriter in an ad agency. Then from there, I started a .com company in early 2000. We raised $31 million. We spent $31 million. Not smart.
Well, what was that? What company was that?
It
That
was a,
sounds like a big.
yeah, it was a company called Radical Mail. And basically, Radical Mail streamed multimedia into your inbox. So you could open an email, and it was a thin Java player that streamed in 11K, and then it would pull in media behind it. So you could stream multimedia into the body of an email. It was actually super cool. And it really took off for about 3 years until things just fell apart, like it did for many other dot coms back in the day.
Just to clarify, like putting a YouTube video in an email
Yeah, yeah,
before you could like quote unquote embed link like type thing, like before like
exactly. Yeah, so it was a little bit ahead of its time. So this technology would crash all AOL, machines, and anyone using AOL, our
oh
technology.
AOL, you mean
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
kids today, but the fuck I'm talking about. But you said AOL, so I know you know what I mean, Chris.
Yeah, yeah, the total dial-in modem. Um,
It just screams at you like a fucking angry robot. That's how you had to get. By the way, kids, the internet in like the fucking 90s, there was only one way to get on. It was AOL, and the price was you had to let it screech and howl with these weird robotic fucking car alarm noises.
that's
Just a
right.
little
That's right.
aside, a little tidbit. All right, go on.
That's right. Um, and so yeah, it was what was interesting about that whole experience was I learned a shit ton. I learned a shit ton about business. I learned a ton about building companies and how important relationships and culture is in building companies. I learned that if when you're growing something like that, you could pursue two paths. One is a growth focused path, and the other is a revenue focused path. We chose growth and spent way more money than we should have. And that's too bad, because if we had sort of buckled down and sort of been a little bit more conservative, we could have lasted longer and perhaps made the jump into Web 2, which we did not do successfully. So that was just an interesting experience. Then from there, I moved into film distribution, distributing titles, movies across into theaters, into DVD packaging into retail stores like Target, like Blockbuster, obviously Netflix. Changed the game on that with streaming. And then I moved up to Bellingham and started a film company. So it's been a very circuitous journey, undoubtedly. But in that journey, I think that there's been some super hard knocks, but some good life lessons that I've learned along the way.
What if you could encapsulate, like, is there any like one like anecdotal story like with either like the most important life lesson or like one or two or whatever comes to mind?
I think it is a matter of perspective. I talked about my first my first job ever in the film business was literally it was in Estes Park, Colorado, which is one of the most beautiful spots on earth. And I was hired as a production assistant. And my first job, and the sole purpose of this job, my sole purpose was to follow the director around, who was a chain smoker. And he would finish one cigarette, light the next cigarette with the cigarette that was just going out, and then he would drop his cigarette on the ground and walk away. He would just drop the cigarette butt on the ground and walk away. My sole purpose was to go around picking up his cigarette butts. And for some reason, I thought, wow, this is, but meanwhile, there's this big commercial film production going on. I mean, there was magic happening. It happened to be a car commercial. There was cranes, there was cars driving, there was extras. It was a full-fledged, lots of energy. It was a great scene. And, I thought to myself, I've made it, I've made it. I wasn't afraid to do the hard work. And I think, there's only two life hacks I know of. One is patience, giving it time, and the other is just doing the work. Just doing the work. You talk about the law of attraction. You attract things by your actions. You attract things by the work that you do. And I think that was sort of my first entree into filmmaking and into the commercial Hollywood, if you will. And I think that having that right mindset helped me tremendously.
So it's, there's no avoiding it, right? There's no avoiding the hard work. That's the lesson essentially, is like people are always trying to look for the fucking shortcut, the easy way out. The shortcut is taking the long way earlier in life. The shortcut is realizing as soon as your fucking career as you can that there's no fucking shortcuts. And that is the shortcut, is to stop fucking looking for them. And sometimes you got to pick up some fucking cigarette butts, literally get your fucking hands dirty, bro. I'm sure those things aren't super fucking clean. And that's it, dude. Just take that fucking lesson. Stop looking for the fucking growth hack, life hack. Are you a fucking hacker? If you're not a hacker, stop hacking and fucking get down on your knees and whatever the fuck it is, bro, get your hands dirty and do the work, because that shit's real, bro. That shit's undeniable. That's not one of those fucking cliches that's not true. In fact, most cliches are true, and that's one of them, bro. Hard fucking work. It's the easiest one.
Well, the origin story starts again, right? Because I'm starting again now. I'm sort of wondering. Okay, look, I need to jump into the Twitter game. I need to strengthen my social media presence. I need to understand Web3 more than I understand it today. So I'm gonna have to bleed through my eyes the next year and a half, 2 years to make that happen. There's just no
Oh,
way
man.
around it.
Life,
I would love it if there was. I would love it if I could just hit the easy button, but that's just not.
life is just a pyramid scheme built of smaller pyramid schemes. Those are the bricks.
So yeah, so I'm starting at ground zero more or less in this space, and I've got to do a lot of rebuilding again, and it's both daunting. Don't get me wrong, but also very exciting, and so I'm stoked to be taking the ride for sure.
I'm excited for you, bro. Now, I'm also I want to hear this. Like, we're burying the lead, but that's good, right? Like, the build suspense here. What are you making films about?
So right now, in the last year or so, we have been involved in a number of commercial projects. So one was for a hospital network in Montana called the Billings Clinic. We did a lot of work for the state of Washington around their COVID and COVID response. So a lot of television commercials, just educating the citizens of Washington on COVID and what that what the ramifications and consequences are of the pandemic, all that good stuff. We're working right now on a short documentary in concert with a nonprofit that I can't disclose quite yet, but it's about corruption and how corruption shapes policy, in government. So that's a little something we're working on. And then we've also got I think, on the other side, sort of the side hustle where we're working on some narrative stuff, writing some scripts and things of that nature. But that's much more long term and much more, I would say, not pie in the sky, but it's a little bit more aspirational, and therefore it's going to take a lot more time. What we try to do as a company is we try to have paying clients that keep the lights on, and then that allows us to pursue some of our other passion projects. And so we're just trying to dial in on that stuff through the course of the next year.
And if I'm hearing it right, the passion projects sounds like when you have the ability to, kind of take control and follow your creative vision, would I be right to say it's about maybe like, kind of like a revolutionary spirit behind it, bringing truth to the world, kind of like, bringing action and drama, but also like, you know, like the facts.
Well,
Like,
from your
not
from your lips to God's ears, right? I mean, the facts as I know them, right? I mean, everybody has their perspective, certainly.
right,
Um,
facts don't exist anymore in 2020.
but yeah,
Did when I was a kid. They were anyone who's younger. Like, I know there's no facts. You're not growing up with it. They're used to fact. It's a different world, but
well, I do believe in the fact. I do believe that there is, I do. I do believe there are, how should I phrase this? It sounds so trite, but it's, I think there's good. I do think there's the facts are you providing goodness into the world or are you not? I think that that's relatively factual, but yeah, I think that we've become a society where things have become quite subjective. But we're trying to tell some stories that are, yeah, personal to us, but reveal our own truth. And yeah, they're fictional narrative dramas, and so we'll just have to see how that all plays out.
Now,
The film business
uh,
is challenging. Like every other creative business out there, that's one thing. That's one reason why I started my newsletter, Creative State. I'm starting a podcast also called Creative State, and that's about helping other creators and myself figure out ways to navigate through the creative economy, which is really challenging. As I know there's a lot of freelancers out there. I know there's a lot of artists out there. I know there's a lot of people who are, you know, out there in Web3 trying to create the next great NFT project. The question I have for those creators is how are we going to, stay alive to make sure that those visions come true? And so one of the goals that I have with Creative State, this new sort of project I'm starting, is really helping us as a community of creators figure that out together.
well, welcome me into that. I mean, I don't know if there's qualifications and application,
There
but
is
I'm
nothing,
a
man. You just you go and sign up for the newsletter and you're in, baby.
fuck yeah, bro. Where do I it's
So that's
creative
that
state.
link on Substack, man. If you hit that link on Substack in my bio, you can just
I will
sign up
sign
for
that.
that.
I will sign up for that right after this interview
Right
here.
on,
I'm
dude.
in. Your question, my answer to how do I sustain it? I'm a day job kind of guy, so that's how I sustain it. I'll always be good as long as that's good, and if not, whatever, you get another day job kind of thing. But until I make it quote unquote big, that's how you sustain. But obviously, as you said, the dream is to get to a point where I'm self-sustaining just on my art, my writing, my podcast, my speaking, and my clothing line that I have, whatever hits the biggest and sustains and can sustain all the other things and make it so I can do all these, like, myriad cornucopia of passions that I have, because I can't just be an artist. I can't just be a writer. I want to fucking taste all of it. And even if it takes longer, and even if I never get there, that's okay. I want to do it my way. I want to do all the things. Some people are like, "Oh, dude, you got to focus on one thing." I'm like, "Yeah, well, that'd be great if I had that type of personality." My personality doesn't.
Well, I think that's really interesting because
I got to move
that
five
question.
different directions. Move it all.
100%. I think that's a really interesting point you bring up about like picking one thing. There is a lot to be said for that. But as a creator, as a as an artist, as someone who makes films, who writes myself, who obviously I take a fair amount of photos. Um, I'm now starting a podcast. My daughter's the first to say, "Dad, you're doing too much right now." And I think there's some validity to that. But on the other side of the coin is, as content creators, we have to explore as many opportunities as possible to see and experiment to see what works. I think a lot of us get niched into like one specific specialty. For example, copywriter. Well, copywriters are extremely valuable, and will continue to be extremely valuable. But there's this thing called AI and Chat GPT on the horizon that could potentially threaten that. And so people who have diversity and more diverse backgrounds and more capabilities in market, are building a wider moat around themselves and their talent skills. And so, to your point, I think going out and pursuing um, your passions and seeing what really works in market is the only way you're going to find out, what that market fit is and how you're ultimately going to be able to flip the switch one day and quit your day job. I think that one of the beauties of working from home, I don't know if that's your scenario, but I know
I
it.
do not.
How do you pull off doing this podcast, for example, in the middle of a workday?
I do not. I am on paternity leave right now. I had a baby December 11th. Very happy father. My time is dwindling and coming to an end where I will have to return to my quote unquote day job on March, I think, like 5th or 6th or something like that. I got to double check my schedule what day I'm actually back
Hmm.
in. But I've just been fucking super capped sorry, captivate. What is it? Capitalizing. I've been super capitalizing on this opportunity, but then I did start the podcast while I was still in my job. So, when that comes back into it, I either will like do it on
You'll
my lunch or
flex. Yeah,
something.
you'll flex
I'll do it
around it.
after work. Some days I have different shifts. Like my job isn't literally 9 to 5. It's just like 8 hours, but there's days where I'm doing like 12 to 9 or like what so like no matter what, where there's a will, there's a way. I will always be making it work. But yes, to your point, I may have to tweak the schedule a little bit as I go back to full-time work.
Right. And I think, but to your point, you'll make it work. You'll figure it out.
Oh fuck yeah, bro.
You
There's
know,
there's
you
there's
know.
no not making it work.
And
There's
first of
only
all,
making it.
congratulations on having a kid. That is tremendous.
Thank you so much.
I think that I think a lot of people who are concerned about having kids, um, uh, limiting their lives because now they have to focus on their children. That there's some truth to that, certainly. But for me, it opened up the horizon in the world, and it really engendered in me an enthusiasm for opportunity. I could just see so much possibility in your children's eyes that carries over into your own spirit that it just gave me a nice swift kick in the ass. So good on you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. I thought unconditional love was like some sort of myth until I had a baby. I was like, "Oh, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
what is this? Is this what unconditional love is? Is that what I feel towards this new life? Holy fuck. That's within my emotional range.
Yeah,
Holy
right.
shit. I'm not so fucking shattered and broken from other shit in life that like yes, I love, but it's like at a much lower level than this unconditional purity that feels divine. Holy shit, this is coming from me. I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth it.
No, it's incredible. So congratulations on that.
Thank
So
you.
so yeah, so I think that just sort of navigating that and figuring out what the blueprint is for success as a creator, as an artist. Um, I think it's going to be circuitous. And for those who say focus, I would say, well, there is no one path. Everybody has to do it differently. And I think we all have to explore the ways by which we can do it differently. Because doing it differently is going to be the only thing that separates us from everyone else. And so, I think we have to figure out our own pace and own rhythm as it relates to that.
Right. And, another way it was phrased to me was like, someone's like, well, if you focus, you could maybe succeed faster. And the way I've come to define success as a person through many different iterations of attempts is that success for me, and cliche, but dude, I love cliches. Cliches are real as fuck. You shouldn't avoid them. You should dive into them. It's falling in love with the process
Yeah.
because what is success? It's if it's a destination to me, it's like, no, like I don't want to spend any amount of time doing things a different way than I enjoy doing them to create a future point where all of a sudden there's everything flips and everything I hated created everything I loved. I don't know. It just I know people do that, and I know it's like possible. It's like some people look at being a doctor that way, kind of thing. It's not me, man. I will not. Success to me is not the end. Success to me is I do it the way I love it, and however big that gets, yeah, that's kind of success. I hope it gets really fucking big the way I love it. But if I have to do things the way I hate them and feels like shit, and I'm not saying I'm avoiding hard work, but there's a certain way of doing things where you're like, this doesn't feel right. And if I have to do that, if I have to feel not right to make it feel right, that's not an equation for me. My success is yes, I wanted to get big doing it the way I'm doing it, but if it never gets as big as I would have hoped, then my success is that like I got to live a life where I got to feed my kid and be, a supportive father, and I got to fucking make all these different art things. Like everything I wrote, I fucking wrote, bro. You never know, dude, too. Like fucking some of the greats, they fucking didn't even get discovered till they're dead.
Oh
So
God.
like I don't want it necessarily to be like that, right? But you don't fucking know, man. Like maybe I just need to maybe that is me. I don't fucking maybe you put it all out and it's like, phenomenal, but they don't realize till like 21:32. And when I'm done, you know what I mean? Or I'll be on the cloud by then. But like,
Damn right, man.
fuck it. I'm doing what feels right, bro. I'm big on intuition. So I agree with everything you're saying. Where there's a will, there's a way. You just gotta fucking keep pushing.
Yeah. But back to one of our original premises, it is hard work, and you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And it's to me, success is largely, there's a couple ingredients to success in my mind's eye. The first is probably integrity. I think that's a critical piece. The other is talent, of course. I mean, that goes without saying. But the third piece is just persistence. Um, just putting one foot in front of just
Yes.
putting one foot in front of the other, knowing that you just have to do that today. Um,
And that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, because the way I'm doing it may quote unquote take longer, but it ensures I'll never stop because I enjoy it.
right.
It's persistent. And that's why I fucking do it,
Yeah,
because it
exactly.
keeps me working.
Exactly. So I think that that's a really good approach, and it's something I'm just trying to figure out too. Because hey, look, I'm like everyone else. I'm like, hey, how many followers did I get? How many likes did I get? And that's I think a relatively well, I know it is. It's a very a short-sighted approach to finding happiness and joy because it's such a fleeting measure of your worth. And success is such a long game. I think that people talk about one of the maladies of capitalism in our society right now. And by the way, I'm a capitalist, but is the short-term quarterly thinking. Everyone's always looking at the quarterly reports, and what's did we make and that's important. Those numbers are important, but those people who think in terms of their 5-year business plan, and even longer, who can project. If you're in your 20s, you got a 30-year, 40-year, 50-year, 60-year business plan that you need to execute against. And if you're smart and you just keep doing the work and you put one foot in front of the other, man, you may not succeed exactly like you had it all mapped out, but the chances of you succeeding are extremely high. And
Right,
so,
dude. And when I say what I say about not like overemphasizing the destination, dude, quarterly reports is such a good example of that. And if you're saying that phrase, you must have worked somewhere where you've seen like the reality of it,
oh
where
hell yeah.
people will literally like fudge numbers or like redefine how a number is measured. Will do all these creative fucked up shit to please the shareholders for one quarter in a way that everybody who's doing it knows leaves them totally fucked for next quarter because they kind of
Exactly.
skewed it. And then the rat race starts all over again. But they've done it so many times, they're like, we'll figure it out again. But like, not always. Sometimes companies fucking go down like that,
No,
man. Like, but
100%.
that's the fucking downfall of planning to the quarter, bro. You think FTX was looking at the long term, bro? Like the Enron, you know what I mean, bro? Like these big
Oh,
fucking
we work.
collapsing things. Like,
Yeah.
no, they didn't fucking look to the future. They looked to the quarter, and like,
Right.
you can't always do that.
Right. No, for sure. And FTX is like a perfect example of. I don't even know if they were to be honest. It may not be the perfect example because I don't even know if they were looking quarter. I don't even know if they were looking. I,
Who knows if they look?
I don't even know if they looked exactly. But it is an example of someone out there who just lacked integrity. And integrity is the cornerstone. If you don't have that, forget about it. Nothing else is going to work. It might work in short spurts. It might work in the short term, but you're you're going to have to pay the piper. Elizabeth Holmes discovered that with Theranos. Adam Newman with WeWork. Although he's an interesting guy, I'm not bashing him too much, but he definitely inflated what was happening. But certainly,
I want to see the documentary production thing on that on like Apple
yeah,
TV
yeah,
or something. I didn't. That came out. I got to see that.
it's good. It's worth it. And then of course, FTX is just an absolute and Enron, and there's so many, and just these scams where you're just like, what the hell? But if you start with integrity and you're willing to do the work, man, that's going to take you so far.
Yeah, dude, hard work pays off. Now let me pivot slightly here.
Yeah.
I can't have a movie guy on the show and not get this out here, bro. What are your favorite movies, like all time, like most influential, however you want to categorize it? Like, what are your top movies? I'm a fucking movie guy, bro. I love TV. I love film. I mean, I love TV. I love film. Dude, I used to love reading books, dude. Like, I don't know if you read books as a kid. I
Oh,
find a lot of
100%.
people who have
I still read.
there we go.
Yeah.
You're like talking about, you're like, oh, I was always interested in the stories of others. I'm like, books.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a high chance that this dude's like me, and he got interested in other people's stories, reading books as a kid when you had to create the fucking movies in your mind. So 100%, we're on the same page with that. So I gotta know, dude, what are your like, I don't know, top three, top five, top 10? Like, what are your favorite movies, favorite
God,
stories?
that's a real tough one. Um, but I think probably my all-time favorite movie is Apocalypse Now. Just a
Why? Biography, story, like, tell us.
I think it's an exploration of the soul. The metaphor. If anyone doesn't know, Apocalypse Now is based on it's a Vietnam story, and these people are the soldiers are going up the river in search of one man in particular. His name's Kurtz, and as they go up the river, it's real symbolism for the journey through the heart of darkness. The soul, and really does an examination of what it means to be human or what it means to be not human, depending upon how you look at it. Because obviously, war
Like
is
the mythical hero's journey kind of thing. It embodies this, right?
it does it does. Have you seen the movie?
I've seen it a long time ago.
Yeah,
If you ask me questions about it, I'll forget. But
it'll
I
blow
seen
you.
it.
Take another look at it. It'll blow you away. I mean, it's hardcore.
I know that it's. I was like, I gotta rewatch this. And I'll admit transparently. When you first said, it, I was like, Apocalypse Now. I was like, what is that? And for a minute, I was thinking, I was like, is that one with the Aztecs? And I'm like, no, that's Apocalypto.
Yeah,
Are
yeah,
describing like, okay, it's in the war, and I'm like, okay, okay, no, Apocalypse Now. Okay, no, man.
yeah. So that's Francis.
Never that I remembered which was which,
Yeah,
but go on.
yeah, for sure. And then I think another of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption. Remains a favorite of mine. My favorite movie
On
last
my
year.
list, maybe that's like number two, three. Like I don't know if my list is in order, but that I have like a list of like top 10, and like I don't know what order they're in. But dude,
Yeah,
Shawshank is fucking up there. Yes. Sorry, go ahead. I'm high. You
Shawshank
got me too
just
high.
yeah. I could whenever Shawshank's on, I could just sit down and just start watching it.
I'll just keep watching.
Yeah, just keep. That's a movie I could see. That's a movie I could just keep watching over and over again for sure. Um,
What about Green Mile?
not I didn't like it as much, but certainly good.
Really?
Yeah, certainly
Oh,
good.
that one hit me hard.
Did it hit you hard? Yeah. The best
You a
movie.
Tarantino guy?
I love Tarantino, so
What
you can start me with any one of his movies, and I'll yeah. There's
favorite Tarantino? I think Pulp Fiction maybe number one, or Reservoir Dogs. Oh, they're both so good. What's your favorite Tarantino?
God, I like Django Unchained. Like
Fucking
I'm
dope,
I'm
dude.
gonna go Django. But of course, Pulp
Was
Fiction and
newer, so
Reservoir.
I like haven't seen it as many times. Yeah, Django's fuck. I should watch Django again.
And also Inglorious Bastards. I mean, there's just he's a phenomenal filmmaker, and he's definitely up there, with my favorite filmmakers of all time. Even Kill Bill. I mean, there's just in Kill Bill too. I mean, there's just a lot of
Love
good films
those.
out there. My favorite film last year was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Um, hand
Oh my god, it
hands
was great. That
down.
was an artist in the A24 films. That was
Yeah.
really good.
Oh God, amazing, amazing. If And what's really great about that film, for anybody who really cares, is that film was done for, in Hollywood terms, a very low budget, $25 million. But the visual effects were all self-taught by the team, the Daniels, and just super creative, imaginative, and just mind blowing. So yeah, that's my favorite film of last year. Um, but
Love to hear it. Now,
it's so hard
oh,
because there's so many. I mean, it just depends. But yeah, those are definitely the top at the moment.
now I was gonna a little bit of an insightful question. I don't know if you've thought about this. I definitely have. What do you think it is that pulls you to all of those movies? Do you think it's like one thread? Like, because we've named a few different movies, right? Like, some of them are very high action, adventure, explosion.
Yeah.
Some of them are not, but those are like, on both of our lists. So, yes, like we must both love a little bit of action comedy, right? But that's not the number one because something is tying all of these together on these lists that we have in our minds. So what is the common thread, or what do you think the common thread is, that whether it's like like an action or something depressing, or whatever, or it's a prison movie, what do you think is the thread that goes, these are the Chris Donaldson, movies? Like, what do you think that core is?
Well, it's a relating to liking the character. That to me is the first. There's a lot of great films out there, but I just don't care about the characters. I don't care if they succeed or not because I'm not really invested in them or relate to them. But probably the most important thing is just the struggle, the obstacle, the conflict. How do these people meet that struggle? How do these people overcome that conflict and obstacle? That to me is, you talked earlier about the hero's journey. That is the hero's journey. And so if you can marry that with a story that's inventive and with characters that I like as a viewer, um, I'm going to be in a good place. But it really is about and I think that's what that's what I miss about social media so much is we're not seeing the struggle. We're seeing the Mai Tai on the beach. And that's not really a story. A story has to
Every
have
story has a story is not a story without conflict.
exactly. It has to have that darkness, that dark moment of the soul, that moment where you think all is lost, but you persevere. That's the linkage for me, and those stories that do it well. I mean, you can even look at a movie like The Hangover. Sure, it's a comedy, but they, they had a real goal that they had an obstacle that they had to overcome in order for them to succeed, and in order for the film to succeed, and it worked. So the best stories I think have that common thread for me. Whether it be a comedy or whether it be something that's a serious drama.
Yeah, and I would agree. And another way to say it, and I said I've thought about this a lot because I've reached the same conclusion. What because I've asked myself, I'm like, what am I attracted to? Like, what I like so many different things. Something must like, am I attracted to many different things, or is there something core to them? What's core to them is truth, right? Like truth, relatability. You say whether or not you could relate to the character, and on some level, that's like your own personal circumstance in life and whether you relate to the characters. I don't relate as well to like not and this is not a discrimination, but I don't relate as well to like female lead characters because often it's like they're in situations like I don't know, like that are different than a male situation. And that's not a sexist comment. I'm just saying it's how relatable the character to you is on a
Hmm.
human level, right?
Hmm.
But then beyond that, in the movies where I love the female character and it doesn't matter if they're my race or religion, that fucking doesn't matter. They're relatable because and this is why I think we love these great movies because it goes beyond who you are as a person and who you are as an individual character. Then it's no longer like, well, I can't really relate to this person because I'm Ian and they're Sarah. And like, no, they're not telling really the story of Sarah. Sarah is a character vehicle to pass on the knowledge like orally or visually through storytelling and movies, the human condition, right?
Universal
These
truths.
areas of life. Sorry.
Universal truths.
Yes, universal truths, the human condition, like emotions we all face. So like we both love Shawshank Redemption. Dude, I'm not gonna assume shit about you. I have never been in prison falsely convicted for I didn't do. You know what I mean? Like I
Me
I,
neither.
I
Not
don't
yet.
think right? You haven't, right?
No.
Right. So like that's not the part we're relating to. We didn't get sentenced to 10 years or whatever. I forgot even honestly if he was sentenced to death or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? That's not really the focus of the movie. But it's like, no, we're not relating to that. But I bet we've both been in a position where someone was looking at us like, oh, like you did this. And I was like, but I didn't do that. Or like, that's not the way that happened. Or like,
Right.
and then he's around other people who are looking at him the wrong way and he feels different inside. Like, okay, that could fit like racism, that could fit like bully. Like, dude, that's so many different things. So it's like when you're the type of storyteller that uses your story to not even just really like make it okay, this is this guy. It's like, no, this guy is an idea. And this idea is prevalent, like you said, universal truths in each and every one of our lives. I think that's what attracts us to these movies.
100%. 100%. And so, I think that, and for me, and I know this is not true for some people, some of my friends who I deeply admire and really admire their taste, they love movies that don't necessarily go anywhere. They're beautiful to look at. They're cinematic experiences. And I can appreciate that, but they're not going to hit me at the core level that you're talking about. You know, what I like to do is see an evolution that occurs within, you know, a character arc that occurs during the course of a story. And that character arc can go in many different directions, but I like to see change happen. I like to see people trying to make change happen, whether they succeed or not. And that to me is endemic of the human struggle that you're talking about. Seeing something that you want and trying to go out and get it. And the ones that work, like Shawshank, you know, at the end of the, I find Shawshank a very hopeful, aspirational, inspirational movie that gives me, you know, positivity in what I want to do and what I want to fulfill in my own life. And so that's when I can take those stories and move them over to practices that I can carry into my life. That's a story that's successful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. You know, it's it's the storytelling arc, it's the hero's journey, it's progression, it's getting over struggles because returning to what we said at the beginning, this is who we are as people. And like you said, not everybody is trying to go somewhere in life. Not everyone has this destination or is trying to fall in love with the process or however you want to phrase it. So yeah, some people are attracted to different movies, and that's fine. You know, people could like what they want to like, but that's what this podcast is all about. You know,
And
we say it's talking about life. I say there's no rules except passion and positivity. But it's funny, those two, like, kind of passion and positivity rules, it kind of like makes all these other not rules, but it kind of provides this whole framework where I haven't yet had someone come to the show where they don't have some sort of like character arc. Everybody has a character arc. Nobody's coming on to just talk about like, the stats of the last football game we watched because one, I don't watch football, and two, that's not what the show's about. It's not just like, oh, I objectively saw this. Yeah, in my room there's a blue fan and the score of this was this and this guy ran this far. If you want to do that, that's cool. I have no problem with it. But that's not a great movie, right? Like
well,
like
it reminds me of an interview I did. We went out and interviewed a very, very famous chef, world class chef, one of the top 10 in the world, and turned out to be the worst interview ever. Because he, you know, when we asked him, what were some of your challenges? His reply was, I didn't have any challenges. Life has been easy for me. There's no story there. You can't, no one can relate to that. And I think he was probably fooling himself. Or he just wanted to present a veneer of,
he was
of,
trying to sound cool, and instead he like sounded like kind of an asshole or someone who's like,
exactly, who hadn't done
so you
any
were
deep
so you were
thinking.
born right, you were born to fucking death, and then you just were like, all
Yeah.
right, cool, dude. That's not interest. Like, congrats, high five for you. I'd love to eat whatever you're fucking cooking, but I
But
don't need to fucking
next,
know you.
yeah,
Like, no
I'm
offense.
moving
I don't need
on. Yeah.
to know you.
And so that's, it was interesting. And I think it's also interesting to take these models of story, the hero's journey, and apply it to business, apply it to your own life and pursuits. You know, if you're going to be in business, you're going to get punched in the face. If you're going to be in business, there's going to be that moment where you're thinking about, fuck it, I'm just going to throw in the towel. If you're in business, you're not going to be able to make payroll potentially next cycle. Whatever those challenges are, that is worth talking about and being honest about and discussing, because when you start having that discussion, you're starting to tell your own story in a way that's meaningful to others and getting other people to relate to you in a way that, this word's completely overused, but authentic. And I think that realizing that we're all sort of on a hero's journey and can learn from one another on that journey is is valuable stuff.
I agree. Now, just kind of again switching gears slightly, we are in the last 10 minutes of the episode, which I've mentioned, and we do for all guests. It's the self promotion spotlight. If you have anything to self promote, it's 10 minutes. We could go back and forth. If you want to just speak like a little monologue for a little bit about something that you have coming up. So, if you have like a movie coming out with the release date, You have something that's already out that you want people to follow. Go to your YouTube. Call to action type moment. Go ahead, list any of those you want. Otherwise, any questions you want to ask me or anything else you want to talk about, we'll talk about for the 10 minutes and then we'll go ahead and close out. But anything you want to give a call to action to first.
Yeah, I would say there's a movie we worked on called Freedom's Path, which is a Civil War movie that's in Regal theaters right now that you can go watch. If it's in your neighborhood, go check it out. It's going to only be around for probably another week before it goes to streaming. Or you could wait till streaming. It's called Freedom's Path. I highly recommend that. It would be awesome if I could get people to see that flick. Um,
Offhand if it's in New York, because if it's in New York, I'll do an effort to. I love going to the
just
movies. I
type in
just told you.
Freedom's Path Regal, and it'll come up. Yeah,
Oh,
see if it's around. That's one thing. The other call to action that I really encourage people to partake in is just don't be afraid of uh, taking care of the hard work that needs to be done. Life is a mess. Life is messy, and all of us, I think, have to just sort of do the work that's needed to make it happen. And don't be afraid of telling other people that your life is messy. I think as creators right now, in this economy, we have to share our experiences on how we're navigating through the world. I would love it, of course, if people went over to my link in my Twitter bio and hit subscribe on my Substack. That would be great. I do communicate in that space how I'm navigating the creative economy, how as a creator, how I'm making things and making a living doing it. But I would love to hear the paths and journeys that other people are on as well. Um, like that, you could also go to my website moment.film, www.moment.film, and you could see our film work right there. If you're interested in seeing what we're up to over here. But yeah, sort of just my call to action is just go out there and do good work. That's my call to action at the end of the day.
so that's it. So do good work, do things well for yourself. But dude, follow this motherfucker, Chris, man. If you listen to any of this and you made it this far, dude, how do you not want to check him? I'm gonna survive or thriving. He's had 112 different jobs to get to where he is now.
Oh
His story
yeah,
is exaggeration, but you know what I'm fucking talking about if you listen.
yeah.
He's killing it. Bro, check him out. Check out his movies. He's got integrity. He's got light inside of him. He's got where there's a will, there's a way mindset. He's not fucking looking for shortcuts. He knows what he's doing out here. Bro, follow his shit. Check his links. Click through all that motherfucking shit and check out a genuine person, bro. If you're a genuine guy, genuine gal, genuine however you see yourself, if you're genuine, check out this genuine guy right here, bro. He's genuine as fuck. Now, Chris, for the people who they just won't have it in their area or they won't be able to make it this week or whatever it is, they're going to wait for the streaming or they have to wait for the streaming. They're limited. Where is it streaming? Where can they look for that next? Because you said look for the streaming, but I didn't hear where. And I want to make sure these people are lost, man. If you don't tell them exactly where to go, they're going to end up
Well, I got to be honest with you.
with the
This movie
where do they?
this movie that I mentioned called Freedom's Path we have not signed a deal with this. I'm not even officially involved at this level with the film, so I can't speak to this. But the people who have made the film have not officially signed with a streamer yet. But when they do, you'll hear it here first for sure.
So follow Chris.
Yeah,
Be patient. We talked about patient being one of the only quote unquote shortcuts is to success is realizing it's not a shortcut. A word for that is patience.
100%. Yeah.
So don't get lost. Don't go looking anywhere yet for the streaming. Hang tight. Chris will put it on his page.
I
I
will
will put
indeed.
it out. I will
Yeah.
retweet it. Don't be watching some trash in the meantime. Use that time to focus on yourself and build
I
and
will.
grow.
I will say
Everything
one
else,
thing
Chris.
before talking about having patience. The director of the movie of Freedom's Path sent 4,000 emails out before he found the financing to make his film. And that's the sort of patience I'm talking about. Have the passion, have the vision, and have the persistence, and you can make it happen.
That's it, bro. That's that motherfucking grind set my mentality. 4,000 emails. Did I hear that right? 4,000
Four
emails?
thousand emails.
How many even responses out of 4,000 did he get? Like
So
not even yes.
he would get
Hours.
out of response. So he did the math, and the conversion was he would get 3 to 4 responses per every 100. And so that's a
Okay. So that is
four
3% to
three
4%.
three to 3 to 4% response rate. Yeah. And then if they
Wait,
responded at
that? And this
all,
guy, what, that again?
if they responded at all, he would put them
Right.
in the yes column. And even if they said no to financing, he would then circle back with them later and try again. And so literally he
Right.
would
Because he,
just,
yeah, they're here.
yeah. So it was an incredible exercise in just
And eventually
doing the work. Yeah, his name is Brett
that,
Smith, the director. Really, really talented guy.
but I'm saying, and eventually, obviously, that worked. Yes.
Yep, it worked. The film is made.
Yeah.
It's out in Regal right now. Yep,
There you go. It's
100%.
out. It's in Regal. Regal is a movie theater. I've heard of it. It's definitely have them by me. I don't know where they do and don't, but that's the real deal, man. That's
Yeah,
you could drive in your car and go see it in a fucking seat with popcorn and a fucking Sour Patch
there
Kids,
you
dude.
go. Do
Like
it, man.
fucking
I always mix the
so
Milk Duds in with the popcorn, but I don't know if that's anybody else's jam, but that's mine.
no, but like actually I could fuck with that actually. Yeah, that sounds actually it took me off guard, but I could fuck with it. Folks. It's doing what you love, and this is when I say, I mean, I'm doing a bunch of different things, and like I don't want to just focus on one thing. Like yes, but when you're really ready to like go to that next step with whatever thing it is, yeah, you have to do that. Like you have to send 4,000 emails, make 10,000 phone calls, 100,000 hours, like whatever the fuck it is. But like some of those are exaggerations, but this is no exaggeration. So 4,000 emails is what it took to get this guy to the place where he pierced the veil. He broke through the barrier. The universe said, okay, you have to really show you're fucking dedicated, or just that's how it happened. But like, and he did it. So some people send one fucking email, and some people send 2 emails. Like, dude,
Yep,
this guy said 4 fucking thousand, and it was not a waste of his fucking time. Ultimately, that's what people have to wake up to. And is it
yep.
possible that it might take you 10,000 emails? Maybe. Is it possible that there's a person out there of the billions of people on the planet that it's just they're literally trying the wrong thing and their work is shit and it's not they have to send more emails, they have to realize their work is shit? Sure. But if you know your work is good, like you really feel that conviction, like you got to do shit like this. You got to send the 4,000 emails.
Well,
We have two
imagine if
minutes
he had
left.
only sent
3,000.
3,999. Yeah,
Right.
he wouldn't
Right.
have gotten there. And so
Exactly.
you gotta have that 5 year game plan and just
Right.
keep putting one
But
step in front
also
of the
you
other.
have to know your work is good and that you just haven't had the right person. Because to the contrary, some people have shit work, dude. I think had 10 million even. Let's fucking promoting it. So it's about balance, about awareness and balance. Now, we do have about 2 minutes here. Do you have any, and I know you already did the spotlight. Do you have any just like one last sentence kind of mic drop thing? If you don't, you don't have to. And then I will go ahead and close this out and thank you and all that. Go ahead.
I'll just circle back to my radical optimism mindset, which I think is so important as a creator, as a doer, as a beer in the creative space or the business space of any sort. And I'll define it again. You know, I believe that optimism is believing change can happen. Radical optimism is the belief that you can be that change, that you can be that change. Let's go out there and make that change.
Fuck yeah. And if you've listened to some of my other episodes, I don't know which one, but every now and again, I just rip that out. I go, be the change you want to see in the world. I love that quote. I love that
Boom.
cliche. It's super fucking powerful.
Yeah.
So here we go, attracting another guest that's, vibing with the energy. That's how the universe works. And as we close out here, we always like to thank the guests. So, Chris, thank you so fucking much,
Thank
bro.
you,
I love your
Kowski.
passion. You're welcome and thank you. I love your passion for everything that we've talked about, growth, the fucking films, books, storytelling, the human condition, the fucking hero's journey, trying to have positive effects and changes in the world. Realizing that, like, yeah, everybody has these dark places in life where it feels like you're gonna give up and your whole life is gonna fucking explode. But your story wouldn't be that fucking interesting if it didn't have those moments. And life is about growing through those moments. And the last message we always like to close out on after thanking the guest, one more time thanking God and the universe for bringing those guests to the show, keeping us both alive and healthy and able to have these podcasts, is a message to the listeners. Thank you for coming to the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving us your time. Hopefully, and not even hopefully, I strongly believe, and we will it to you, that you got all the positive lessons in this show. And if you're feeling down, if you're feeling good, either way, a message from our friend Afakasi Brand, who's also on Twitter. If you have not heard it today, you are loved. There is light and dark in this world, but there's also a oneness. That oneness is love. You are loved by the universe. You're loved by me. I love you. Last message. If you have not heard it today, you are loved.